Mayor Johnson, council members, Andy Gist. I reside at 125 St. James Avenue downtown here in Suffolk. Again, I would also like to say thanks for having this meeting. It's much better than the budget hearing, where I think a lot of citizens feel disenfranchised when they come and we're merely presented with what the budget is going to be by feeling like we have any input. So I would say thanks for having this meeting tonight. But what I noticed with the briefing that went on today is there's some strategic messaging that I see coming out of the city. And I reject some of the assumptions and some of the premises that are in the briefing. For example, Mayor, your opening comment that no one wants to either raise taxes or reduce services. Well, clearly I can see that people are generally not in favor of raising taxes, but I think that a lot of people are willing to reduce some of the services. So that's one item. I also saw several quote-unquote mandated spending in the briefing, but what you fail to reveal is the levels of those mandates. So although I agree some of them are mandated by the state and federal, what we don't typically see is, okay, what exactly are the mandates, as opposed to just take our word that these are being funded at the level that they're mandated. It gets back to the comment about the transparency. And, please stop telling us about how we compare on tax rates and salaries to the other locales in Hampton Roads, because that's really not a measurement. It's more or less, are we just trying to keep up with the Joneses here in the city of Suffolk? We have a very different city environment and locale than Virginia Beach or Chesapeake. And I think the comment was made also about population as well. Homeowners and businessmen and women, why is it that the taxes are usually targeted at just on the property taxes or the business taxes? And generally speaking, if we don't have the money, then let's not even look to raise taxes as the going in argument. That should be the very last piece of the equation. And there's other ideas, I think, besides property taxes. We can put the tax burden, if that's what it comes to, on all the citizens through a variety of other tax options. Sales taxes and whatnot. Okay, so I don't think it always has to come back to the property taxes, because the tax values are going to go down, and that's going to be the answer. Let's just raise the taxes, the property taxes. I know that the budget is a difficult task. I've dealt with budgets, but quite frankly, that's why we elected you, to make the difficult decisions. So although I can empathize with that, I don't sympathize with that. And at a minimum, I think you've heard the theme here tonight is the school board funding. I didn't understand the statistics, so thank you for pointing those out, but I think it is generally appalling. I mean, this is the future of Suffolk that we're talking about. And as far as what you're proposing to allot or not allot to the school board, fund it. That's another elected body in this city. Let us worry about how they're going to spend it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
My name is Brooke Shaw. I live at 1502 Old Mill Creek Drive in downtown Suffolk. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Mayor Johnson, Ms. Covey, start spending money to increase tax revenue, enhance the quality of life, and make downtown Suffolk a more desirable place to live makes sense for the city of Suffolk. The city has just provided over $3 million to Lipton Tea because it will enhance the tax base in downtown Suffolk and enhance the job opportunities. I've come to give you another opportunity to do something not quite on that grand of a scale. The homeowners, I'm also on the Homeowners Association of Mill Creek, believe that it's financially beneficial to the city of Suffolk to move forward in establishing a quiet zone to both improve the quality of life in our neighborhood and enhance the tax base. Let me explain why. To give you 3 examples of homes in the Old Mill Creek community. The home at 1500 Old Mill Creek Drive just sold for $62,000 less than the most recent tax assessment. The home at 1503 Old Mill Creek Drive is listed, hasn't sold, it's been on the market for 4 months at $37,800 less than the most recent tax assessment. The house at 1775 Millwood Way sold for $47,642 less than the most recent city tax assessment. So we believe that making the railroad crossing at Old Mill Creek Drive will result in increased property values. In addition, this has been a terrible safety issue for the city of Suffolk. The gates have malfunctioned. They have not gone down when the trains have gone by. They have gone down when there's no train there. Within the last month, I witnessed, talking about schools, a school bus that sat for 20 minutes while the gate was down with no train coming. And it's got to disrupt the school, and I can imagine the parents wondering where their children were when they were coming home. I also have a letter that was sent to the Honorable Mark Warner from the Federal Railroad Association, and he's given some information on how to address this issue. I'd like to share it with the city manager if I could. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker. Next speaker.
Chris Dove, 852 Colonel Lee Drive, Suffolk. It appears that you're reaping what you've sown. By assisting the circumventing of the city's zoning ordinance, you directly encourage the current budget shortfall that you see now. Permitting developers to build more and cheaper homes than the zoning ordinance allows has created a decrease in tax revenues in relation to the increase in demand of such city services. Take Kings Fork Farms, for example. 314 homes were authorized, as opposed to the 234 that the maximum set by the zoning ordinance. Instead of land taxes of $63,000 per acre we would normally see, now we're seeing only $40,000. The result is a total decrease in annual property taxes revenues of $2.18 million. That's annual. Kings Fork Farms is not an exception to the rule. It is the rule. There are literally hundreds of homes just like the ones in Kings Fork. How much revenue has been lost making developers more money? For years, the city has ignored the minimum standards in the zoning ordinance. 5-foot setbacks instead of the 20 minimum requirement. 56-foot frontal lot frontages instead of the minimum of 150. This is not news to the mayor and most of the longer-serving council members. I know because I've told them. You're not only allowing, you're promoting this practice. On the top of the decreased revenues, now we have to provide services for 80 additional homes. These homes will generate 19 extra elementary students in our already overcrowded schools, which is an additional classroom that does not exist. There will be 80 extra homes attached to our water and sewage systems, while many citizens are still on well water and septic systems. My budget suggestions are that City Council should direct Director Mill to go ahead and adhere to the city zoning ordinance minimum standards. Revoke any pending development plans that do not meet the minimum standards, so that we can go ahead and get the revenues that we should be seeing instead of what we are seeing.
Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Gary Holmes. I live at 230 Clay Street. And I have to admit, I'm slightly confused. In years past, Ann and her staff, we have a little sit down and kind of talk these budget things through, but somehow we've made this into a political event. I'm not sure if that's political savvy on the part of council or ignorance on our part, but either way, the young lady that threw down the gauntlet with a challenge to you all, I'm not too confident you're going to pass. We need to remember that this is the same council that in majority, not totality, brought forward a proposal to move Health and Human Services building from downtown to a place with no infrastructure, no sidewalks, no buses, nothing. This is the same council, again, in majority, not totality, that saddled us with recycling fees that are 3 or 4 times what it costs them to tip this thing. We have annual fees, or rather taxes, of almost $200, while it costs them far less to handle the service. This is the same council that repeatedly underfunds public education. Enough has been said about that. This is the council, in majority and totality, that approved massive pay increases when we, the citizens, sat here, or at least in council chambers, this same time last year. The chamber was filled, it was out the hall, around the building. So I don't think you're going to pass that challenge, but you can prove me wrong. If in a year, though, we're sitting here doing the same political song and dance, I encourage you to remember that that's an election year. I also encourage you to remember that. So what can we do? I have a recommendation that has nothing to do with your budget. I have a recommendation for the citizens of Suffolk. Demand leaders who are proactive about your opinion. Not asking you to come to a meeting or chat at noon while you're busy working.
Absolutely. That's right.
Go back to your communities and find leaders who can articulate a clear vision for the city, who can lead. And if we can't do that, if we can't find the characters in our own homes, in our own backyards, to replace these individuals, then let's look at them again. They're going to be sitting here next year, and we may be faced with the same number of problems.
That's right.
The football has to be moved down the field. And if you can't quarterback it, we need to find somebody who will.
Next speaker, please.
Before I get started, sir, if you would give me a quick vision, I wanted to make sure that the council members, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make comments. And follow the comments, please. By the way, while we're waiting, my name is Saul Gaines, I reside at 129 Hoxton's Lane. Just got it. Yeah, sure.
Excuse me, sir, do you have your name again prepared?
I said Saul Godinez.
Thank you.
Okay, so you asked for some input. So point number 1, please review the city council meeting comments of May 2nd of last year. Specifically, listen to around the 1 hour and 6 minute mark. I believe you all said you were, quote, committed to working together with Suffolk Public Schools. Sir, Mr. Vice Mayor, you said you believed in education. You all generally agreed to do this earlier in the budget process. You also mentioned that you would form a budget working group between you and Suffolk Public Schools, and this would occur earlier in the budget process. I trust that such has occurred and you're able to tell the citizens what proof grew out of this. Point number 2, please review the first slide labeled required local effort document before you. What it basically says is that compared to other citizens in the Stagmar area, we are dead last. Yes, I said dead last. This is also where I'd like to have you consider how you will meet the unfunded budget requirements for Suffolk Public Schools for the previous years. Please draw your attention to the slide titled History of Local Appropriation of Funds. You know, there's no argument that the city has funded Suffolk Public Schools, but I ask of you, please, to what degree when you compare us to our sister cities? Point number 3, in my considered opinion, it's critically important that your constituents hear from you. What areas of the budgets are important to you? The city's vision and mission statements for budget and strategic planning are too general and appear vague. In other words, please tell the citizenry what is important and what may not be as important. Put a priority. Is it education? Is it safety?
Is it economic development, or will it be the salary increases and perks for the executives of the city? In this budget year, like previous ones, we know that not everything will be funded. The people are looking to you for leadership. Please, don't be afraid. Point number 4, I would like to challenge you to help me assist you in formulating the decisions for this year's budget. Please go to classroom number 13 at John Yates Middle School. Spend a day there with the teacher of the year that was selected by her peers. I need you to spend a better part of the day to look at how the bus schedule runs at the school. Look at the condition of classroom 13 and others. Observe how the staff make do with what they have. Have an actual meeting with the students and ask them what they think. Don't forget to talk to cafeteria staff, ask them what they think as well. Walk outside the classroom. Towards the rear of the building and outside where we have classrooms. Yes, there are classrooms, but they're actually trailers. Ask the janitors what they think. Ask the front desk staff if they have enough people with respect to personnel. I'll accompany you, but please, no cell phones, no libraries, no laptops, no tablets, just yourselves. And when you arrive there, make sure you get there earlier. Parking is a premium. Finally, in closing comments, in that same second May Council meeting, you all said that it is important that students receive the best education possible. Please review those minutes. It starts at 1:13. So, in closing, thus, point number 5, and above all, please do not steal from the children. I say again, please do not steal from the children. Don't take away their educational opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. Mr. Holmes, before you leave, I hope you'll consider running for City Council. Your job, as I see it, is... I'm so sorry. Yes, Helen Wiley, 8201 Canterbury Crest Lane, Suffolk, Virginia, of course, Chuckatuck Borough. I'm also a teacher at Oakland Elementary School. I see your job when it comes to funding to be sure that all the monies that you appropriate are being spent the way that they should be spent. I challenge you to look at the school board budget and fund it, and then inspect it, monitor it, and be sure it is being spent the way that you intend. I think that needs to be done with every piece of the budget across the city. That's only good business. Inspect and monitor. Also, I would like to say that even our youngest students know how to save, how to not waste, and that's what we need to teach them to take us into our future. We need to be prime examples of that ourselves. I would also like to say to you, or it's a rhetorical question, I don't expect an answer. When Lipton is proposing a $96 million expansion, $3 million in a silver engraved tea set, is that really going to make the difference in whether or not they stay with us? But that $3 million would make a big difference to the schools. Sidewalks in Chuckatuck, another spending. I drive that way every day to school, of course. I rarely see them used. I see Mr. Whitley out there every morning walking the sidewalks of Chuckatuck, so thank you, because he was a great man. He is a great man, and I'm glad he can use them. The question is, are we spending our taxpayers' money the way we should be?
No.
Again, I don't expect an answer.
That's right. You'll answer.
But I do expect my city council to be watching the funds and to be spending them as they should, or appropriating them. I was very dismayed to see the pie chart out front when we arrived, showing the percentages and showing the big chunk for the school system, or for the schools. Thank you, Mr. Hayden, for pointing out that a good bit of that funding does come from other agencies or other government funds. Our city council does dole those out. but they didn't come from the pockets of Suffolk taxpayers in the form of local taxes. A small amount of it did, a large amount, but not the amount that that pie chart showed. Again, please, let's all be upfront. Let's all work together. I have a daughter who recently bought a home in a neighboring city, and our discussion last night was, you realize when you have children, you're probably going to have to put them in private school, which goes completely against anything that I believe in. Or you will have to homeschool them, or you'll have to move out of that neighboring city that I'm not going to name. I just hope that that is never said about Suffolk. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Carolyn White. My address is 4216 Coltrane Avenue in the city of Pughesville, Suffolk, Virginia. I heard somebody say something about sidewalks. We don't have those. You mean to tell me you got them and nobody's walking on them?
That's
I love to walk on a sidewalk.
Go to Choctaw.
I was born in 1954. I haven't seen anything change in Pughesville. You're talking about community growth? Yes, we got some new homes. They're putting the homes closer now. When I moved out there, they had to have so many feet. Now you can take one little lot and put a house there. But sidewalks? No, we don't have that. We used to have people to come and clean the ditches. Boy, they don't do that anymore. I'd love to have someone just come out here with a bulldozer or something to just get the ditches cleaned out. Well, while we're working on that budget, please remember Pughesville. Thank you.
Holly Stevens, 4613 Schooner Boulevard. Good evening. I'm really tired of having to come to these meetings every year and beg for the Suffolk City Schools. I have 2 children that graduated from Suffolk Public Schools. One is now a teacher in Suffolk Public Schools, and my other son is also he serves the community. He's a police officer. I fear for the education of my grandchildren. It's not that we don't have dedicated teachers and staffs in the school, it's that they're not fully funded. I am a bookkeeper for Suffolk Public Schools, and I'm here to tell you that we have cut back to the bare bones. Myself and Mrs. Topping can tell you that I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the little flags that go on papers that say sign here. Do you know we save ours and put them on a sheet protector and reuse them? That's cutting it to the bare bones. I'm proud to be a Suffolk resident. I've been a Suffolk resident for 33 years. I moved here from Virginia Beach. When I moved here, I served as PTA president and as council vice president. I can remember going to district meetings, and Suffolk was the brunt of the joke. Oh, we must be late if Suffolk's here already. You know those country people in Suffolk. All of Suffolk public schools, school boards, and superintendents have worked diligently to bring us up with the other school systems. Like I said, they have cut back, they can't cut back anymore. We are not the brunt of the joke anymore at district meetings. We want when cultural art awards, our students are the best. They're right up there with them. I've heard on many occasions at council meetings saying it's a great time to live in Suffolk. This may be true for certain city officials with large raises, but it may be time to go back to say surprising Suffolk, because it is very surprising the lack of concern for the students of the city of Suffolk by their council members and their lack of concern for our budget. We are asking for what's right. Fully fund the 2013-14 school budget. Thank you.
Next speaker.
106 Kristen Lane. I want to thank you for taking Patrick Henry's words to heart tonight, no taxation without representation. I am a concerned taxpayer wondering if we were represented well when the Emergency Management's adopted budget from fiscal year 2012-2013 had a 145% increase from the requested budget. I am a concerned taxpayer wondering if we were represented well when the City Manager's Office had a 27% increase from the requested amount to the adopted budgeted amount for fiscal year 2012-2013. And I got that directly off of the Suffolk website. I'm not really sure what those increases paid for because that wasn't very transparent, at least on that website, or what I've heard tonight. I would just like to say that I think if Patrick Henry was alive tonight, and he would say that no taxation without transparent budgeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and all city officials. My name is Olympia Manigan. I live at 4521 Marlin Avenue, Suffolk. And I'm here with a concern that's really dear to my heart. I've been living in Suffolk on Marlin Avenue 52 years. We have a real problem out here. We've been before City Council many, many times. The Civic League that I work with Murray Richardson. But now we're in their trouble. We had paper streets out there where we could get in and out from Marlin Avenue. At this time, there's so many houses there, we don't even have a path to walk in and out. If one vehicle gets to the end of Marlin Avenue, nobody else can get in or get out. We got new houses out there now where we got roads tore up, the streets are not paved, they come and put the water lines and they leave the streets all open and where you go and bump the bump. I went from my house downtown Point, had to pay $800 for a tire and a rim being messed up. And I filled out the proper papers, but I was told because I didn't report it before my tire got messed up, I couldn't receive any money from Suffolk. We are taxpayers. We've been paying taxes for 52 years. And my concern right now, if someone gets sick in that street, an emergency vehicle cannot get in and out. All the paper streets have been closed down. If it's a fire down there, we cannot get in and out. My husband and I were coming from church yesterday, and the man had to back all the way from the end of the street all the way out to Town Point to be able to get out because another vehicle was trying to get out. I'm asking you, please consider, I heard all this stuff about the school board, and that is very much needed in the city. But you got to think about the lives of the people that live in there, and you're putting houses after houses after houses in these little small places. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, ma'am.
It worked for you.
Richard Harrell, 803 West Riverview Drive, Suffolk, Virginia. And I appreciate the council and the city staff leadership to listen. The thing concerns me is this too late? I don't think a lot of the people here realize that the way y'all fund the school budget is by lump sum. You don't go there and each item, and the school board decides where to spend the money after they know what the city has allotted. I would suggest, and thank you for this program, but let's start next week or one for next year's budget. Because tonight, the council tells me they hadn't got a budget yet, and hadn't seen the school board budget. And so when are you going to get it together? You got 6 weeks or so before it's got to be approved. And I committee meetings between the school board and the council is going to take effect during that time. But we do appreciate the start. We've started somewhere, and tonight there's been a big start. We've had a lot of people here talking for other things than schools, but the schools need it as bad as anything. And so we appreciate y'all having started, taking it, and we hope that it'll be followed up. And the other thing that I have is I hope y'all have considered the amount of money it's going to take to fight our assessments in courts this year.
Oh, yeah.
Suffolk is not first in a lot of things, but we were first this year in having suits against the city on the numbers of misrepresented assessments. And a lot of those, few of those that have been at one big time.
Yes.
And so don't think you're going to get all of the money that is coming in from the budget, because a lot of that is going to be taken to court. And I hope I don't have anything to go with, because I know we usually have been able to work them out, and maybe not happy, but happy enough to say, hey, let's go for another year. But I hear a lot of things from people with lots of land and subdivisions with $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses are not selling. They sell one, two, or few alone, but most of them end up being sold at $350,000 to $400,000. And they have 6 or 7. And that's a lot of tax money that's going to be not collected. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is James Quash. I live at 3760 Mansillon Parkway. Thank you for receiving us this afternoon. And I've sat here and I've listened. I've been a resident of Suffolk, I guess, maybe for the last 7 or 8 years. My appeal is going to be to those of you who own businesses. And the reason I say that is because I know good and well, and I know some of you who run your businesses, and I know you do not run your business the way the city runs its budget.
Amen.
Bring your expertise to the table, gentlemen and ladies. That's why we elected you. We need you. We need you to bring that expertise to the table. We need you to stand up and say, wait, why are we putting a sidewalk in a vacant field? I'm being a little extreme, but I'm using absurdity to make a point. Common sense. How does the city buy gasoline from the school board? As was explained earlier. Do I have that right?
No. School board buys from the city, but they get overcharged.
Oh, but they get overcharged?
That's right.
Okay. How do you do that? The kids, how do you do that? I mean, this is, it's like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like outcome. You all know what it is about outcome math. It's not all right and it's not all wrong. But when you go by the standards of absolute, it's either right or it's wrong. So I'm not up here to say that we're going to fight you on it. In some degree we may, because that's what our system is all about if it's wrong. We will. But I'm here to say to those of you that run businesses, and I'm not casting any dispersions on folks who are government employees, because I'm one myself. And I've dealt with them, and I've seen how they crunch the numbers. And trust me, they crunch the numbers like this. We got money, we spend it.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Got more money, we spend more of it.
That's right. Give us some more.
Got less money, we spend more of it.
That's right.
And so, you all that have your businesses, you all know better. You all who have positions in private enterprise or wherever you work where you really crunch the numbers, you know better. The citizens here elected you to these positions of leadership. Right now, the country is in a financial crisis. We all are. We all are. And yes, we do need money for the school boards. We need money for this, that, and the other. But if you can make a cut, make a cut. If you want to empower if we've got some bad teachers, we got some bad police officers, whatever the situation is, then make it so that we can get the best of the best. If we've got money that you know that's being spent wrongly, folks, just step up to the table. That's all we ask. We are a city of 85,000 compared to Virginia Beach, compared to Portsmouth, compared to Chesapeake. We don't have that revenue numbers coming from the citizens. Crunch the numbers. Do the analytical work. Look at the per capita income. Just look at it. It'll tell you right then and there. If you can't afford to pay somebody something, and Ms. McCuff, you are very talented, I'm not casting dispersions on it, but the bottom line is this, and that is, I know those of you that run your business, if your competitor is paying somebody $300,000 a year, your revenue cannot handle it, you just don't do it.
That's right. Woo! That's good.
And I mean, there's just, my time is up? As a commercial say, your time is up.
You have my 3 minutes, good.
Thank you, and God bless you all. And I just ask, just please step up to the table and have the courage to make the right decision.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Johnson, Vice Mayor Brown, the city manager, and members of council, good evening. My name is Clinton Jenkins. I live at 2029 Hickory Wood Drive, Suffolk, Virginia. I'm just echoing some of the voices that you've already heard. I support the school system. But at the same time, I understand that the economy is bad right now. And at the same time, I understand that if the school system goes down, then you have to make a choice. Hire more police officers, or find funding for jails. But some way or another, people are going to find a way to do what they want to do. And if we provide a quality education for our students, it will enhance the city of Suffolk. There has to be a balance. Just as the school system take cuts, the city of Suffolk has to take cuts as well. We have to share those cuts, whether it be delaying some of the capital improvements or some of the other suggestions that you've heard, sharing vehicles. Somehow, some way, there has to be a balance. Again, with good schools, you attract corporate America and businesses to the area, so we definitely need that. But I would be fair to this council and recommend, just as we ask you all to provide funding for the school system, that it would be nice to see this body here go up to Richmond and speak to the legislators up there and ask for some additional funding to help you all do what you need to do. I thank you all for giving us this opportunity and hearing us. And Ms. City Manager, you hold on to that tiger and do the best you can.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other speakers? Any other speakers?
I just hope everybody will just listen to what the people are saying. No lose weight.
Sir, would you like to come up and speak?
Good afternoon. Belly Wicklow, 840 Kings Highway, road with no bridge. And y'all got promised the bridge. I am 82 years old, be 83 Wednesday. Thursday. And I will never live to see my bridge there. No, don't have the budget of a bridge. I got a water bill every day. I don't use enough water, so they charging me more money to make up a budget. Now, why should I pay more money if I don't use any water? Y'all just take money from everywhere, and I'm on fixed income. I just hope everybody in here that got a lot of money sit down. Everybody will do everything that people said tonight, stand up. Okay, so that's
Thank you, sir.
I don't know what he said.
Do we have any other speakers? Do any member of council on stage? Vice Mayor?
Okay, first of all, I always say I don't appreciate all of you come out tonight. When you look at what our country's all about, it's about democracy. It's about presenting the city in a democratic way. All of you have influence. And I want to say this to the schools. I really think you have one of the greatest superintendents in the state. I've been calling him, even when he was a young lad, so to speak, had a lot of hair. He was always smart, always very energetic, and always did the right thing. I can remember in the 60s when I came as a math teacher, it was some of the same type of conversation. But you know one thing we did? We fought for what we believed in, just like you would fight tonight. So you did the right thing and come and speak it out, and I really appreciate that. But regardless of what happened, we never, ever gave up on our kids. And when you look at the school system over through the years, we have some of the best facilities in the country. We have some of the best school teachers in the country. And you are producing some better students in the country. So I want to say this here, continue to push for education. That's the key. As a council person, I want to do all I can to make sure that we continue to have an education system such that all of our students become stars, regardless of what's on the plate. This is what we do as educators. We do the very best we can, and we never give up on our students. And you're not going to give up because you are committed, because you're a professional. So I think if we can work together as a team, and I do emphasize the team, we can get through these difficult times. This is not the first time. I've been on my credits. I've been almost 18 budget hearings. And we've always got through these difficult times. This is no different. So I'm asking you to make sure this council and the school board, like you tell your students, sharpen your pencils. Do your homework. Study hard. And pass this test. And we will pass this test if we can work together as a team. But we're going to have to work as a team, like you teach your students. You got to work hard. You got to sharpen your pencil. So let's see what the end results are going to be. Now I want to say this last thing. I have 3 daughters that went through the system. I taught, my wife taught, so I know about education. And all 3 of my daughters are engineers from the school system. They're doing very well in the industry. So when I say that you have done a very good job, I'm not exaggerating. And we're going to continue to do a very good job in the education system. If we can continue to recognize, we got to work together. Now, to be on council and run the city, it's very difficult when you have to run the city very efficiently and very effectively. That is very difficult to do. You have to make some hard choices. And I'm in the process of now, so you can understand. I represent the Cypress district. In my district, we have a lot of rural people. We have people part of the metropolitan. What I'm in the process of doing, those people that's the leaders in those communities, I'm one of those people and asking them, what do you think? You tell me what to do, because you put me here. Now, this is one leg, but there are more than one leg to represent a stool. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to the people that elected me also and ask them, what should I do? What should I cut? What do you think? And I'll make a decision. One thing about industry, where I came from, you gather the facts, you do your homework, and don't be afraid to make a tough choice. When the time comes, I will make that choice. And I will be for education. I will be for safety. I will be for public works. I will be for a quality city. And that's where I stand. So I want you to let you know where I stand. So we know guesses where Charlie Brown is coming from. I'm going to work with you during these difficult times. If you work with us, we will get through these difficult times. If you're serious. And about our city manager. I personally don't believe in there's no place in society come up here, flow short, a lot of negative comments, just trying to embarrass people. That is not what democracy is all about. We hired this young lady, I'm very proud we hired her. But I just want to make the record straight. When we hired her, the city was almost ready to go out the back door. And we said, look, if you come on, we don't have the money to pay you. Because if we would have hired a city manager at that time, it would take like $75,000 to go out and do the due diligence. And another had to raise his salary. So this young lady here in fact can do a good job. If you come on board and show us you can do a good job, then we'll increase your salary. That was a good deal. And she came up and she hasn't stopped running. And when you look at this city, the 100 best cities to live in the country, when you speak in terms of jobs, out of all the people in the country, there are 27 in job producing. And only last week, I think because of planners and her innovation, we were able to keep planners here to save about 200 jobs. Lipton, there were 300 jobs. I was very proud of her. You know, one thing I wish that we could hear more. She has done her job and doing it efficiently and effectively. So if you have a problem with the city manager, don't blame the city manager, blame me because I voted for her. And you know one thing, when it comes time to bid, I will continue to vote for her, just like I think you should keep your superintendent because you're doing a very good job as well. So I just wanted to know where I come from. Thank you so much.
Councilman Milcher?
Tonight we have heard approximately 40 citizens came forward to speak in the group. And the major concern here was public education. Education is very essential. We're going to have to continue to work on the education piece and all that. And we might refuse citizens who will be leaders of this city in time to come. We want to thank the citizens for coming, for your participation. Sometimes we get a little frustrated, okay? But we'll work through it. This is my 33rd budget process, okay? And each year, we've gone through this year after year, okay? Some years get a little tougher than others. Times are tougher now than it was after Herbert Hoover left the White House, almost, okay? And we're hoping that we work together as a school system and a city council that we can make some adjustments and compromise. Compromise is going to be the key to this because $9 million new money is hard to get. It ain't pocket change. It ain't petty cash. So we're asking that you will work with the city council. We're hoping that when the budget come out, some adjustments could be made. We're asking that when the budget comes out, that the manager and her staff will echo some of the things you heard tonight in the budget. May you continue on working to improve quality education. Education is essential. We can't continue to prosper with inferior education. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. To begin with, I'd like to thank the citizens for coming this evening and giving us their input. I would also welcome any citizen between now and the budget process personally to contact me during my cell phone, 449-9688. You're welcome to email me at mike.dooman@mikeDooman.com, and I will be more than happy to set up an appointment to talk to them one-on-one, or I'll be more than happy to come to a group to get their input and also to give you mine. I've taken about 10 pages of notes, and I'm not quite as experienced as my counterpart here, Mr. Military, and sometimes I have a problem talking too much, but there are, as one of the businessmen that several of the speakers alluded to, I do run a business. And I have employees more than I probably should have. And we have faced over the last, since really 2008, is when there's significant downturn in business, especially if you're in the retail business. And for my line of work in particular, finance had dried up. People's disposable income kind of disappeared. And most folks, even today, are reluctant to make a long-term commitment to an installment loan. It can be 5 or 6 or 7 years when there's this much uncertainty in our economy, both on a local, state, and federal level. Those jobs that, when I first got into business, there were jobs for life. When you went to work at the shipyard, that was a job for life. You knew that your job was stable. There are no jobs for life, and there are very few things that we can count on in today's economy. Those individuals that alluded to working with a budget, budgets consist of revenues and expenses. I'm not a really intelligent guy, and I slept through a lot of my economics classes, and I might have cheated on a few of my accounting classes to get through them. But budgets are what they are. They're revenue and expenses. Certain of those expenses are fixed expenses. Certain of those expenses are variable expenses. You know you're going to have them, but you're not quite sure what they're going to be. And then there's the third category of expenses, which Ms. Stewart brought forward, which are discretionary. Those are the items that you can choose to do or not to do that will have some effect, but will still allow you to keep your doors open. So what I'm looking for, and I think council was maybe looking for, was all those discretionary expenses, what are you willing to sacrifice with the only other alternative trying to increase revenues? Now, I've only been on council for 2 years, but based on the experience of what has transpired in the past, where we were as far as our bond ratings, is way before I got to council, we were down to AA minus or something, you know, significantly lower bond ratings. Those bond ratings are only determined by your fiscal position, your financial stability, where you are now and where they think you're going to go in the future. So whatever this council has done, and I'm leaving myself out because I haven't been here long enough to do it, but whatever the city manager and council have done, they have moved us to a position where we are at least fiscally responsible with a balanced budget, with guidelines that we have put in place as far as reserves, as far as pay go, those capital improvements that we have spent money out of the cash coffers rather than issue bonds for it. And most folks need to realize that the majority of our capital improvements are paid for by bonds. So we're not writing a check for $3 million. There'll be a debt service on it, but that debt service is a couple $100,000, not $3 million. So you need to realize there's a difference between writing a check for $9 million and building something for $3 million. Everybody here has a checking account. I could ask you to raise your hand if you have a checking account. Are we writing a check for $9 million or are we writing a check for $200,000? A lot of the issues you hear, there is nothing more important than education. I agree. Education is paramount to almost any other service you can buy. Education, safety, those are what citizens are looking for when they move to any locality. There was a gentleman that said he went to Western Branch, and Western Branch got a great reputation for schools. I went to Churchland, even though I live in Chesapeake. Churchland wasn't too bad either. But schools, I can appreciate what teachers have to go through. And I've said this before. I mean, my wife was a kindergarten teacher, and when she started teaching a few years ago, when she did teach in public schools in 73, the first year of kindergarten, she made $7,200 a year. She taught at Academy Park. And when she taught in Academy Park, she would go to the store, and she came back, and she had construction paper, she had crayons, and she had erasers. I said, who bought all that stuff? And she said, I did, because we don't have it at our school. So school funding is always an issue, because it costs so much to educate our children, and now it's even worse. Because back when my wife taught, there weren't any SOLs, there weren't all these mandates that are getting thrown their direction also. So it is a difficult process. When I said I was miffed when $9 million came up, I was miffed because, we struggled at $5 million or $6 million last year, and $9 million, to be honest with you, just took my breath away. It's a lot of money. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm in business, where does $9 million come from? Do we cut out all our parks and rec? And that's $6 million. How many lights can we cut off? A lot of the issues we talk about, you speak with emotion. And I can understand that, because when we're talking about our kids and we're talking about education, we do speak with emotion. I did too. I mean, I get kicked when my kids aren't in school. They've been out of school for a little while. But the reality is, if we take the phased-in compensation that we did from the employees, I believe it was about $700,000. About $700,000. And just like the school teachers, the city employees have been a long time without a raise, and the city employees were also in jobs that maybe were not classified correctly. So there was a reclassification and compensation study. And there are people sitting in positions that got no raises. And there are people sitting in positions that will be quite some time before they get a raise, because now their job is classified at a pay scale less than what they're already getting paid, and they have to sit there until they meet that number before they get any more money. So there weren't any raises across the board. I don't mean to keep her here too long. When it comes to funding for the students, the RLE number includes a lot of funds. From what I understand, it includes state funds, federal funds, and depending on the demographics of the kids, those numbers can be up and down as far as the city's concerned. I do know, and I'm not taking anything away from it, and I'm not looking for, what you have to understand is I am not looking for a reason to cut any funding. If the money was there, then all of it ought to go there. I mean, I believe schools are the priority of this council. The individuals I've spoken to, I know they're my priority. We've got great safety and police protection. I want to thank Dr. Dobransky for a recommendation. I really haven't spoken to anybody else on the council, but to have a funding formula, we're going to take a lot of the guesswork out of it. When times are good, get a little more when times are bad, you get a little less, and you gotta kind of suck it up and see what's going on in the course of the year and figure out how to make it work. Because that's what we do in business, that's what we do in our home, and that's what we try to do in government. A lot of the other issues that were brought up, some of the projects, it looks like they're kind of wasted. The police bus, the sidewalks, the squad bus, a lot of these things, these are grants. These are grants that none of that funding came out of the city coffers. So there's no money being sacrificed for those in lieu of funding our schools. I think it's important to know that. I am somewhat I would have been happier had we had more meetings during the course of the year, because after going through, I've had lots of people been up and said, you know, we do this every year. What do they call, what is it, lunacy? It's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. You know, somewhat miffed, well, we're back here again. Almost in the same position we were last year. Something did not happen in the course of the year that should have happened in the course of the year. There is a breakdown in communication somewhere, because these discussions don't need to happen at the end of the year. I don't know about the rest of the council, but I'll go home and have a hard time sleeping. But once again, I will not talk anymore. I welcome anyone to call me once we get the budget, and as the mayor said, we do not have a budget yet. We have done a great job in economic development, and because we have done a great job in economic development, then hopefully those revenues from other streams, other than the real estate assessments, will do more than just compensate for that $2 million we lost. I personally am satisfied that city staff has done a pretty good job keeping expenses down. I would like to hear something specific from the citizens if they have any suggestions, and I'd be more than happy to investigate those suggestions rather than speaking generalities. I think we'll be a little bit more productive. And with that, once again, I want to thank you for your input. I believe that the fact that we are here this evening, and I don't know about this, I'm not here for show and tell, I'm not here for lip service. I have a lot of things I'd rather be doing than get beat up on for an hour and a half. But the fact is, we are here, and we do, and I welcome your comments. And if there is a constructive way to make this work, I believe Reverend Johnson said it, I mean, if we're going to cut, everybody needs to cut. The school's budget's as big as the city's budget. We appropriate money. There was a lady came up and said, well, maybe we should start auditing the school system to check, make sure the money's being spent right. I really don't think that's why we have a superintendent and we have a school board. That's their job. With that, once again, I welcome anyone to give me a call. Once we get the budget, I'll be glad to sit down and go over it with them. I sincerely hope that money is available to fully fund the budget. It would tickle me to death. And all this would be a good point. We can talk about our business. But being in business and being realistic and look at the numbers, it's going to be tough. And I personally will do whatever I can within reason to make it work. And I honestly believe that my other 7 cohorts will do the same.
We could have given you specifics if you guys would have put the nose out beforehand.
Ma'am,
I understand, but he wants comments. We could have given you guys specifics.
He wants to get his comments
We could have given all of you specifics on what to cut.
Thank you again and tell you good evening.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I guess the 2 main things I heard was education, but don't raise our taxes, and reduce but don't raise our taxes. So I guess my question would be, we want to do this and it costs an amount, but we don't want to do a revenue income to get to that point to do that amount. And just using the 9 million, I think it works out to be about 10 cents on the mill rate. I personally, as a personal individual or taxpayer, pay well over $50,000 to the city in licensing fees, property taxes, and that doesn't include trash. And at my business, I pay additional for outside using my trash. So I feel everybody's better. But I am in business, and I chose to be in business in Suffolk, and I'm going to stay in Suffolk. I'm a product of the public school system. But I will say this. In addition, the mayor met with the chairman, the superintendent, and I believe the city manager, and they discussed about the budget during the year. I don't know if the 9 million ever came up. I wasn't involved in that. I used to be on the education committee, but I'm not. But I'll say, too, a lot of folks spoke tonight, but I didn't hear a lot of suggestions about, we want you to cut here, we want you to cut there, and it has to be specific. I call him Buddy, Mr. Joyner, did give some specifics. Not that I agree with all those, but there were some in there. But once again, there were a lot of things thrown out about, we spent this much on getting the bus, we spent this much on getting the bus. That was grant money. It is tax money on the federal and state level, but it still was grant money. I heard about overcrowding in the school system. That's a school issue, but I wonder if we went and did a rezoning of the whole school system, if we would really come back with a true picture of where the students need to be. Maybe we've got it pushing them to the wrong schools, the wrong zoning. I mean, that's just one issue. We had that same problem that we just went through on citywide redistricting. And I know the growth is in the northern end, and I know that. But if you don't have a true picture of where the true need is for expansion of the school, not expanding the school, addressing programs in the school, basically in the end, you can throw money at anything you want, but if you don't know what the actual true problem is and you don't bore down to the true problem, throwing money at it is like giving a kid $100 to go in a candy shop. He's going to come out and he's going to say, "Where's my change?" You got any change, Daddy? And that's just what happens. Now, I believe in results. I can tell you since 2006, when I came on council, I was sitting right out here. I was at a budget meeting. They had a hearing. They had all these nice little charts up about what we're going to do, and we've got all these funds. And that former city manager, he knew there wasn't any money in those funds. He wanted to raise the taxes out of the limit to backfill where he didn't have any money. We had 1 day to fund the city, 1 day surplus. We were at I guess it was a AA negative, single A, I'm sorry. We went from that to we're AA positive outlook, just a step away from being AAA, which has basically, in essence, saved us on bond refinancing, $51 million. That sounds like a lot, I guess, to folks. I guess the thing of 51 million here, I can't grasp that, but I can grasp $14,000, or I can grasp this over here, or the smaller amounts, but that's a lot of money. That savings is what's gotten it so that we can afford to give more money to the schools, more money to the other programs. But also, and I want to thank former Councilman Richard Hurl for saying that once, because I think it's a misconception, once we give the school their money, they can do what they want.
Correct.
So if we give them all that money, they don't have to give the teachers a raise. They have the option to do what they want. They'll probably do the right thing, but they still have the option to do as they please with it. So we don't control that. Now, I would love to see a line item budget. I would love to see that on the school side. That would interest me to no end. Because I have asked in the past when I was on the education committee, what are your utilities? How much are you doing here? How much are you doing there? And I don't get an answer for that per school. Just so that everybody, and this is for one of my school board members that I love dearly, we saved $1 million by changing light bulbs in the traffic lights in the city of Suffolk per year, from going from incandescent to LED. I know it's a big school, I know you have all of those things, but there are ways that we can become energy efficient throughout the whole city. The new municipal center is going to be energy efficient. And I still say we want to see results. Everybody wants to see results. And I'm still hearing it ring, and it's ringing in my ears, education, no tax raise. Education, no tax raise. And I'm fine with that. We can maybe get to that point, but honestly, in my opinion, there isn't $9 million to do it. And that's straight up. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that. You know, I'm not going to throw things against the wall till something sticks. I'm just telling you straight up, there's not going to be $9 million. Because it ain't going to happen. Because we're already in the hole. I do want Ann to come up, because I think there's some differential in numbers, if you don't mind, Mayor, that I just wanted to clarify. Can you tell me how much per student the city of Suffolk pays? Not, I don't want any percentages, but I want dollars, and where we rank per dollar per student in the Hampton Roads area.
You know, we rank 7 out of 11. And the actual dollar, I'd have to go look up because I have too many numbers in my head. But you bring up a good point, and that is you look at the spending per pupil. You don't look at who gave that dollar, state, federal, local, other. You look at spending per pupil, because that is the total cost of the service that you're providing. And it's different in every community because the state's funding formula bases it on a huge compilation of numbers, but they look at your poverty levels, they look at your real estate values, they look at your average income per household. And so what we get from state and federal will be different from what any other locality gets in state and federal, and that's why you look at your total spending per pupil.
Is the 7 good out of 11, or
Seven,
or worse?
7 is not as good as we would like to be, nor is it in any area. I think we could pick health and human services, we could pick public safety, we could pick mental health services. We don't rank #1. We would like to, but we're Suffolk. And we're working hard, but we're not there.
I'm on the jail board authority. And on the jail board authority, we've done a lot of cost cutting.
Yes.
Some of those were in place before I came. At one time, the jail authority itself did the food thing. They found out by outsourcing the cafeteria or food vendor thing, they saved about $200,000 a year. I mean, we looked at the canteen, we privatized the canteen. I mean, we're going to look at privatizing. We as a city have privatized some things that were cost effective. Now, I know that staff in the city, city staff in the school had some meetings about looking at joint services and seeing what was feasible and what was not. I don't know the outcome of that. I think there was some low-lying fruit, and it's already some that you were doing, printing and so on and so forth. But I mean, that's still another avenue to go. And there can be some cost savings.
And if I may, we have had a lot of progress progress there. I've heard quite a bit about meetings that were supposed to have occurred during the year that didn't. They actually did. And we've had a lot of collaboration. I think we've found a lot of joint opportunities and a lot of cost savings. And I think that the staffs are working very well together. And I want to be sure that that does go out to the public. There is a whole lot of collaboration that we have been successful at. And I will just say this as well. I know I heard a lot about the fuel cost being. The schools are charged the same price per gallon that the city is charged per gallon. Public safety, everybody pays the same price. And it is not a profit. It is totally, we cover our costs. And that's all we do. We don't mark it up for any of our users. It's all based on cost in, we have to cover.
And just for clarification, right now, from the real estate revenue, we're giving $3,495 per student. Is that correct?
That sounds very
Which
close.
is third in the Hampton Roads area.
I believe
That's,
that was
obviously,
correct.
that's before federal and sales tax and so on and so forth. Obviously, Virginia Beach, 500,000 people, not 500,000.
Well,
Understand, they're gonna get more sales tax.
and that is correct, and I think that brings me back to that point as well. You know, Virginia Beach is a long-standing city. They have a lot of tourism revenue. Their revenues come from so many other sources. We aren't there. We don't have those different revenues. We're not that diverse as our revenue streams. So you can't look at any community and say, you know, this one's doing better than that one. You have to know their story. You have to know what goes into the revenues and what goes into the services that they provide. And I would welcome anyone in this room, in the city, give me a call. I will spend time with you. I will sit down. I will walk you through the budget. I will walk you through the funding. I will walk you through every element of what it takes to run the city. And we want ideas. We are happy to take in those thoughts. But I think that when you get educated on all that goes into budget development, when you understand all of the service requirements, it's not as simple as some have stated.
Just for reference too, I want to make sure everybody's got my contact numbers. My cell number is 757-286-4999, 757-286-4999. You can contact me at charlesbar@hotmail.com or suffolkbird@gmail. I want to ask, is Kevin here? I want to address something about the comment about 3.7 million going to. I want a short, to the point synopsis of how that money that was given to Lipton, how that actually comes to them. It's more of a reimbursement style than we're going to give them a $3.7 million check.
Correct. The project itself was updating equipment that's approximately 58 years old. So the same equipment that they're manufacturing with 58 years ago is what they're using today. So that's taxed at a value that has a value that's 58 years old. So they're replacing the majority of that equipment, approximately about $96 to $98 million. And so that'll be now taxed at a higher rate because it's brand new equipment coming on board. So the EDIP grant that was given is done in phases, which they have to abide by for each installment is provided. But essentially, you're looking at, they will be continuing to pay taxes to the city of Suffolk for each phase for about 5 years, and that's given back to them. Then they receive no other grant funding, and this new equipment is taxed at a higher value coming into the city. The grant only covers about 5 years approximately for each phase.
And from that point on, that's going to be there for hopefully another 58 years and so on and so forth.
And again, it's only on